Customer service teams want to own the customer experience. That makes sense, but they may not always have the bandwidth, they may not have the time, and in some cases, they may not have the ability. Companies can avoid offshoring CX by making the team they have more productive and strategic. In this way, they can free up their people to do the work that matters while lowering the cost to serve. What you're about to hear is a discussion from Esker's virtual event, which happened in July of this year, and it's between Esker's global COO, Emmanuel Olivier, and business development manager, Nick Carpenter. They're going to discuss why customer service leaders are turning to automation for help to solve challenges they're facing today and what to do next. If you're interested in hearing more of this event, check out the show notes. I'm Scott Leahy, and this is Esker On Air.
All right, we're shifting gears into our last 30-minute block. Joining me for this session is Emmanuel Olivier. Emmanuel is our Esker's worldwide Chief Operating Officer, and he leads Esker's operations, covering sales, marketing, consulting, and also supervises Esker's finances, financial communications, and investor relations. Emmanuel is also kind of at the helm of Esker when we first started our own internal CX initiative as well. So great resource. Emmanuel joined Esker in 1999 as the CFO. He was promoted to his current role in 2003, and he has his MBA from the Schema Business School in Sofia Antipolis. I haven't brushed up on my French. I'm sorry, Emmanuel. And also holds a CPA here in the U.S. as well. Emmanuel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nick. Very happy to be with you all.
Awesome.
And thanks for making me feel a lot younger now with all that history.
There we go. Emmanuel, it's great experience, and we're lucky to have you on this call. So let me ask you, I read a recent report that said that 86% of customers are willing to pay more for a premium experience. From your perspective, Emmanuel, how are CX strategies impacting the bottom line? Why should businesses really care about this?
Well, I think, with all that was said before during the two previous sessions, and there was all great information, I think we all understand now how that's obvious, but it's better said than not said. That's the relationship that you have with your customers that making your company successful. How you interact on a daily basis with your customers is going to make a difference in the hearts of your customers. Esker still believes that people do business with people. We're a technology company that believes in people. And we actually believe in the fact that technology can help people. Technology is not here to replace people. People is here to empower people and allow them to do a better job, to serve their customers better, and to get satisfaction from serving their customers better, to feel better about it. So at the end of the day, we've always looked at, customer touches, customer experience as the reality of how companies care for their customers. At the end of the day, I think I use the analogy of you can have a great car with a great engine, but if your tires are no good, nothing's going to happen. There's no way that you can perform. And this is what you find in customer service and how you create a great customer experience. You do it on a day-to-day basis. You do it with sometimes, things that seem like obvious, easy tasks. But at the end of the day, they truly make a difference. And this is what we're trying to improve with technology.
Great insights. Just one simple equation I heard at a recent customer service trade show was EX plus CX equals RX, a simple framework that if you make your agents' lives easier, focus on the employee experience, they're able to offer a better customer experience in front of your customers. If you're offering a better customer experience, ultimately, you're keeping customers longer and you're increasing the average value of a customer account as well.
Yeah, definitely. Once again, it's all about how you serve your customers, and it's people doing that at the end of the day. So again, you want to empower them with a great tool, making them feel good about the work they're doing and the impact they're having on the business. And Christine, said it before. It's not just about being able to process orders better or to minimize touch points or this or that. How you process your orders, how you treat their customers at the moment where they're putting an order with you is influencing everything else, because a business is a chain of events. And as you know, the chain is only as good as the weakest link. So, but when the order is taken and delivered, then that has influence on how your customer is going to pay you, when your customer is going to pay you, which is impacting your finance KPIs now, which is impacting your ability to invest in your business and in your people in the future, which in the end is going to determine the performance, the overall performance of your company, and how you compete with your competitors, how you gain market share, and what happens for the whole company in itself. So yeah, she said orders were the heartbeat of businesses. Definitely, this is where everything starts. And if you screw it at that point, nothing's going to go very well after that.
Yeah, thank you, Emmanuel. I think one of the interesting points that Kate and Christine and Chris made was that it's harder now than ever to actually execute on these strategies, given some of the macro level trends going on. And it's not just supply chain disruptions. Emmanuel, let me ask you, what are some of the macro trends that customer service teams are dealing with today that's making this more difficult than ever to really execute on?
I think from a macro perspective, I think there's fundamentally two simple things that are happening. One, it's getting more challenging. There's more going on, more that we have to fight, more that we have to deal with. There's the pandemic, there's the inflation now, there's shortage of people, and this and that. There's many challenges that we have to overcome and that we have had to overcome over the previous year. So it's more challenging, but more importantly, in my opinion, it's more unpredictable, because most of the things I just talked about, no one was there to tell you this is going to happen. We're going to have a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, and the world would be practically shut down for a few months. So get prepared, Mr. Company. No one really said that. I mean, maybe a few people, but no one was listening anyway. And there's more than that. I don't know if you recall, but before the pandemic, there was a ship that blocked the Suez Canal for a couple of weeks, one ship, and it disrupted supply chains worldwide for sometimes months. So I think, we built a world, we built our economies focusing on optimization, optimizing everything down to the smallest detail. It's almost like, our economies are built like you would build a race car. Everything's perfect and is providing optimal performance, except it can only be driven on a perfect racetrack. Otherwise, if you go off-road with it, it's not going to do anything. And I think our world is becoming a little bit more like you driving an SUV off-road as opposed to a perfect race car on a perfect track. And so you have to be ready for that. And I'm not saying you should forget about optimization. I mean, obviously, we all want performance. We all want productivity, and that's not my point. My point is we have to factor in the risk of the unknown, because as we've seen, there's a lot of unpredictable things that may happen that we cannot predict. We can try, but we're not going to be able to predict what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. But what we can do is build organizations that can react to the unknown better than the competition. And again, back to Esker's perspective, who can do that? Who can respond to something that is not expected? People. So you have to empower people with technology so that they will be able to respond better to things you don't expect and will happen anyway.
It's a great comment. Your analogy of the off-road vehicles versus the sports car reminds me of like the supply chain resiliency topic that a lot of people are talking about, which is we were always just in time. Now we're kind of shifting to just in case, to be able to have a little bit more flexibility, whether that's increased inventory levels, whether that's the ability to have people to easily respond to these types of things. I think that is exactly what you were getting at. Now, let me ask you this. I mean, there's also the Great Resignation. Can we talk about that a little bit? I mean, people are the heartbeat, but it's getting harder and harder to find good people. How is that impacting, customer service teams' performance?
Well, I think it's impacting customer service teams if customer service is about entering or keying in orders in systems, because that's boring, and the younger generation cannot understand why, they should, and I'm going to push it a bit, but not that much, they don't understand why they should be receiving faxes and keying that information into an ugly system. And I won't name names. So they don't get that. They don't understand the meaning of it. They don't understand why it should be done in the first place. I mean, they have the perception of, okay, it should all be automated anyway. When I order something on Amazon, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. Nobody's doing that. It doesn't make sense. I don't want to spend my time at work doing something that doesn't make sense. I don't want to spend my time at work doing something that if I tell my friends what I'm doing, they will make fun of me. I don't want that. This is not, the meaning that I want for my life. And so the Great Resignation is about that. People are looking for meaning. They're looking for doing something interesting, and they're looking to contribute to a bigger goal. So yeah, if customer service is keying orders in the system, they won't like that. So again, technology, I think, can help there by one, getting rid of some of those tasks that are of low value and not interesting for people, but also providing them with a working environment with tools that they can be proud of. They can say, oh, you know what? I'm using a system that's using artificial intelligence to do this and do that. And before that, I was doing it manually. We heard that before. And now, it's being done for me. So now what do I have? I have time. And how do I use this time? I use it to, name the topics. I'm using that time to contribute better to my organization, to serve my customers better. And maybe my customers are telling me, it's a pleasure to do business with you. I like your company. I like the way that you're treating me. And that's something that you can be proud of. So once again, I think, yeah, you're going to have resignation. You're going to have people quitting on you if the work they're doing is not something that they can be proud of.
Great insight, Emmanuel. Thank you. And I just want to throw a subtle plug to the audience. If what Emmanuel is talking about here in terms of the Great Resignation and supply chain disruptions is speaking to you, want to encourage you to check out the Esker podcast. We had a great podcast with a company called Skytron. They're an OEM distributor of medical device equipment, and their manufacturing hubs are in Japan. And they talked really about how the supply chain disruptions from 7-day transit now to 21 days, it's very inconsistent, how that was really impacting their business. Really a great podcast. So if this interests you, check that out as well. Emmanuel, back to you. I want to ask you a question around the digital landscape, right? A lot of companies have taken on e-commerce type projects in order to give their customers self-service, some personalization, better visibility to where their order's at in the fulfillment process. But it seems like adoption always caps out around 30, 40%, especially for those customers that have a lot of different suppliers. They're not going to do this for every one of their suppliers. So let me ask you, what can companies do to complement their e-commerce initiatives?
I think, one thing, that's a good investment. You should do that. But, like every investment, it's not always about what you do, but how you do it and what is really being done. I mean, I heard a conversation earlier talking about how if you automate a bad process, you have a very efficient bad process, and that's not really the point. It's a little bit like that with e-commerce initiatives as well. Sometimes it's like a layer around bad processes that, in the end, you end up facing when you're actually trying to deliver the goods and services that we're talking about. So, that window dressing sort of attitude with e-commerce isn't going to work, because it's going to show at some point. So that would be my first comment. Make sure it's great to show very well. It's better to actually perform well. And so to do that, it's not just the outside layer that needs work, it's the whole process. So that's the second advice. You have to look at the whole process in detail. Sometimes, oftentimes, all the time, go talk to people who are actively involved in the process. Go talk to the people processing orders to understand the process. I cannot tell you how many times in the past I've seen prospects or customers telling me, oh, this process is automated, it's perfectly digital, it's working great for us. And then you go talk to the person in the cubicle that's processing orders, and they have like a scanner, a printer, God knows what, to handle paper. And you're like, what's going on here? Yeah. Oh yeah, it's digital because they're keying the information into a computer system. Well, that's not a digital process. So look at your process objectively. Go talk to the people who are actually doing the work. They know what's going on better than anyone else. And when you try to perform better, change your process if they need to be changed. Again, a very efficient bad process is still a bad process. Even if it's digital, it doesn't matter. So simplify, talk to your people, talk to your customers. They'll give you great feedback about what they think. And at the end of the day, what truly matters is what your customers think, because these are the guys giving you orders, giving you business, and making your business a reality. And your employees, because these are the guys delivering what you need to deliver. So talk to the people who really matter.
Great insights, Emmanuel. And your point of, hey, e-commerce is here to stay. Do it well. I mean, I think a lot of the companies that we end up working with are saying it is a great tool. It's something we need to have, but it doesn't do everything for us. And I think that's where we're seeing companies look at segmenting their customer base between how captive they are and how strategically important they are, and then trying to pair a channel of business with them, at least an ordering channel with them that matches their experience. If they're captive and highly strategic, maybe it makes sense to invest in EDI. If they're not very captive, maybe that's where a platform like Esker can come in and help mop up the rest of those orders, give your customers an Amazon-like experience, right?
Yeah. And don't focus too much on technology. And we're a technology company, so I think it means something that we're saying that. One thing that I think software companies in general, technology companies, are not necessarily very good at is being humble. If you look at how companies are organized, through the eyes of an ERP company, for example, I'm not sure that you're seeing the reality. What you're seeing is their dream. But when you're in the business, what you're trying to do is improve your reality, and your reality is not what those guys are telling you. So anytime, technology companies are saying, oh, I can, make everything perfect for you if you use my technology, I solve all of your problems, no problem. Probably that's not true, but probably that's something to consider, but that's not going to solve all of your problems. Once again, I'm back to talking to combining people and technology. This is what really matters.
Great point, Emmanuel. I think there was a question that came up from the audience. I want to make sure that we have time to address that one, but let me ask you for some parting thoughts here. A lot of uncertainty out there, macro level, right? As folks go back to their day-to-day operations within their business, what would you leave them with in terms of, what can they take away from this presentation?
General thoughts. We talked about the fact that the world is getting more and more challenging and uncertain, as you mentioned. And that's difficult to manage in general for businesses. So expect more challenges in the future. But the great news is this is also a huge opportunity for your teams, your company to really make a difference. You mentioned that I'm based in France, and in July we have this great cycling race, the Tour de France, which is always a great event for us in July. You don't win the Tour de France on flat terrain. You win it in the mountain when it's really hard, very difficult. And this is where you make a difference. So look at the crisis. We don't know what's ahead of us. When it gets difficult, this is where you can make a difference and prepare for a much better future. So look at it this way. Technology is there to help you. Esker certainly is there to help you achieve that, and keep a positive attitude.
Amazing insight, Emmanuel. Thank you. I mean, there's a Gartner article that backs this up, and it's titled "Winning in the Turns." And it talks about EBITDA performance of those that made changes in the recession, which is exactly what Emmanuel is talking about winning in the hills of the Tour de France. Emmanuel, thank you so much for your insight, your perspective on today's webinar.
Thank you, Nick.
Again, if any listeners are interested in watching the entire virtual event this discussion is from, there is a link in the show notes. It features insight from Forrester analyst Kate Leggett and firsthand experiences from Esker customer Fuchs Lubricant. And as always, if you're interested in learning more about Esker, you can find us at esker.com. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll talk to you next time.